Hello everyone, I'm XiaogangSimpleWSM. Okay, in this lesson, we will mainly guide you to first set up the structure of this plugin. Well, let's call this plugin XiaogangSimpleWSM Message. If it's a bit long, we'll abbreviate it as XiaogangSimpleWSM. Yeah, right. Because I'm worried it might be too long and fail the review. Then we will mainly create these files for everyone, but we basically won't write any code. We'll mainly just create these files for everyone. And then, like this, we'll go step by step to write the code later, okay? First of all, you can skip to the end to compare and see if there are any issues, but I'll still guide you through writing this. Let's see if we can make this plugin this long. I'm afraid that if I write it too long, he won't approve it. WebSocket. Okay, he approves it. Then we'll write it this long. Well, I'll just write WSM. Just know that this name is an abbreviation for WebSocket. Okay, then the author will still be Xiaogang. Next, we need a blueprint function library. Actually, it might be fine without it. Let me think about it. Let's keep it for now. Just in case we have some other features later, we can put it in the blueprint function library. Here it starts, compiling the relevant code. Okay, we have already created it here. After it's created, it looks like this. Then, next. We deleted this. We don't need this. We don't need this function either. Remove this function as well. Okay, let's first make sure it compiles successfully. First, ensure it compiles successfully. Good, the compilation passes. Then next, we'll go ahead and create this thing. After creating it, we'll check it again. Okay, we've already created it here. Everyone still remembers how to create it, right? Okay, ours are all empty here, but we've included this header file. You said you need to check it a bit. And here we've written 2 logs. This log is this simple Build.cs. The server and client, these 2 logs, so we can distinguish them easily. Okay, remember to include this header file. This is mainly for including the header file. You can see, this is the original one. We just left it alone. And this mainly contains just use program once. You can see this log. Here I showed you they are all empty. These are all empty. Okay, no problem. And now we have red lines because we haven't set up our Build.cs yet. So we need to set up Build.cs. First, you need to take these 2. When this is exposed for others to include, they only need to include type and subsystem. Yeah. And then for ourselves, we need to include the full path. Then we need to change this name because we currently have this name. Okay, after including these parts, then we need to include these 2 modules in public. These 2 modules are our WebSocketLightweighting and WebSocket, and here we don't need to include Slate. We just need to include the savings. Okay, basically there should be no issues here. Let's check this plugin again. For this plugin, we need to enable a plugin here. We are actually using the web provided by this engine. WebSocketLightweighting, such a plugin. Then we need to provide a whitelist here. We just need it to be used on this Windows system. Okay, we can click this plugin. Let's wait a moment first. Let's compile it first. Hopefully our compilation will pass now. Because it's easy to make mistakes at this point. That is, when you are linking. If by any chance something goes wrong with this path, this is all very normal. Then let's take another look at this plugin. We found the location of this plugin. You will see that it is in, we just searched randomly. Just click on it. It should be here. It is in WebSocket Messaging. It should be this module in this location. Let's take a look. Let's check if this is the plugin. It doesn't seem to be it either. Let's look for it again. It should be the plugin below. Actually, you can take a look. How it is done in UE5, because it itself actually also has this requirement for sending and receiving information. Follow the requirements. You can take a look, but I didn't say this. because it might be written a bit more complex. Ours is written very simply. We are not considering high performance. Concurrency. We just need to ensure that several servers are connected and not put too much pressure on the main thread. Okay, this is our plugin. And this plugin is experiment, an external socket plug. And here it says, you must handle some other related settings accordingly. Then this part is some of its processing stuff. It might be something like that. We'll just ignore it. Then it should be Mac. Windows 64pp Lilis. You can use the XiaogangSimpleWSM or all of them. There's no problem with that. Then we mainly need to look at this part. Look at this here. This part contains some modules. You can see then this part. This part is what we will use later. The plugin uses this wishadd method. So we will bind the proxy later on the server-side proxy. We bind it onto this. Then on the client side, we can just use our previous Webpack. And here we mainly create this WebSocket server. You can see, actually it should also be able to open this HTTP, this WebSocket server. So you also have an interface to open HTTP, and then here it can use the init method to create a WebSocket server. We won't use these. Don't make it too complicated. Let's take it apart. We'll just use this. These can be used for filtering. There's also a tick here and some information, etc. We mainly use this. As for other information, there is some connection information here. We should also use it later. Okay. So basically we use this plugin. We'll tell you about this plugin in a moment, how to set it up on the server side. Actually, normally our client should actually put it in another module or extract it, because our client might put it in this. That is, the client might be placed on Android and iOS. But actually, this plugin of ours, as we conceived it, will only be used on our DS service. Yes, we will not let this. It will mainly be used on the DS and Logic server. Not really. We haven't considered Android and iOS development yet, so we haven't separated the client from it. Because this module of yours cannot be packaged on Android and iOS, because, as we just saw, that module can only be used on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So this part needs to be split. So how exactly should we break this down? So you actually need to break down a basic module here. The basic module serves as both the server and client. It is a module that both must include. It contains definitions of basic data, definitions of communication formats. Then the client module can be packaged on all 5 platforms. That is what. Then the server module can only be packaged on all Windows, Linux, and Mac, like this. So there are actually 3 modules. Then after writing this, do it here. Such a whitelist of modules, such a setting. Then pay attention. There should be no multi-level mutual dependencies between modules. Okay. In this session, we have created such a structure for this plugin. Next, we will guide you to write some initialization code. Now let's write it. That is, we mainly need to write this subsystem because this subsystem has a tick. So now we will write these tick and init methods. We will write them here. Okay, I'll just paste it directly here. Because actually it is the same as what we had earlier. I think just pasting it is fine. Pay attention to the reflection here. I'll just paste it here. And for this reflection, we'll create a guide tree red. This guide tree red should be this name, right? It should be this one. We find this guide tree red, change it here, swap the front part, space, and then here let it directly all caps. Then here we need to add a bracket or a parenthesis. Okay. Then here we need to add this thing. Okay. Next, let's create its implementation. We might also need to include some header files here. For example, something like the TKBOS class. Okay, let's just quickly finish it up here. Okay, I've already written it here. It's actually quite simple. The header file earlier, this is the copyright notice, etc. The part that came over wasn't deleted, it's just the client side. Actually, this is all the same, right? Actually, these indices, let's fold these files. So, there's a little trick here. You should have seen it before. And right here, this is its original file. First of all, this thing definitely needs to be exported or something. But when you don't need it, you might be able to turn it off. But we didn't differentiate here. We'll just feel this out. Both need to create this subsystem. Then, actually, on the server side, you can turn off the client side. On the client side, you can turn off the server side. This is a small optimization. There is a point here, and here, note that this returns the generation ID, and here let it. If it is a CDO object, then don't tick. Okay, this is the client side, and the server side is actually the same. You see, the code is all the same. Be careful not to mix them up. These are two subsystems. The names are very similar. They only have one client and one server. But these two things, their writing style, will be completely different in our later writing. Right now, they look more or less the same. Okay, then if you don't want to write it, you can just copy it over here. Just change the name. Because we've already written a subsystem for you here. Look here. I generally prefer using subsystem. What about other types? I use them less often, because I think the lifecycle of this thing is the easiest to manage. Okay, thank you everyone. This concludes our lesson for today.